Father,
Son,
welcome to the couch.
thank
How are
you.
you doing today?
I'm all right, Tom. I was great cycling over here.
Yeah.
Shoulders just started aching a little bit while I'm sat here, but that's just I'll just adjust myself and stuff like that. No, I'm feeling actually not too bad. A few weeks ago, typical man flu and stuff like that, sort of slowing me down a bit, but just feel things are coming back. Feeling all right.
Good. So, for context, how old are you?
I'm 64.
I know that.
I didn't really want to tell anybody that.
No, the reason I want to know that because health and fitness has been a big part of your life. You know,
It has.
your entire life, pretty much. You know, being in the military, a lot of stuff focused around fitness, the sporting achievements that you've done, how you push yourself. How now after the military you're kind of using health and fitness to look after yourself, like longevity. You've got your hobbies out there, you know, cycling, walking, and stuff. So I kind of want to go through your journey of health and fitness on kind of like different avenues you've taken it, different things you've done with it, and how you've used it for different things. Because for now, there's a different use for health and fitness than it probably was when you first started getting into it.
Yeah.
So, first experiences with exercise, training. What was it back in the youth, back in the early days?
First experience. I'm not sure if the first experience within sort of training. I always knew when I was young, was little, that I had speed in me. Right, not so much endurance, not a long distance runner or stuff like that, but I had speed that was in me. You know, the sort of upbringing in Liverpool and stuff like that. You know, again, there was very little cars. We never had a car. Not many people did have cars. You know, there was bus services, but then that took money. So the majority of the time, you were walking everywhere. You know, you walked everywhere. I was always a little runt. You know, sort of. You know, the fifth one of seven.
Yeah.
Type of thing, and or should I say, the fifth of the first five.
Yeah.
Type of thing, and then before the other two come along, and I
always forget which one you were in terms of your siblings.
Yeah, in relation to my father.
Yeah, because you're.
Yeah, my father. So you know, my mother and my father, they had 5 kids.
Yeah.
And then my stepfather, my mother had.
See, I always
2
place
kids.
you around 3rd or 4th.
No. I was the bottom little one, you know what I mean, little whinge bag type of thing. And anyway, so you walked everywhere, you run everywhere. It was a very outdoorsy type of upbringing. I think much more different today. You know, you could go out in the street, you could play football. There's things that you could do. You could walk through field and go down to rivers, and even though ours was the Mersey, but you could walk to all these places, which is a bit more restricted nowadays. So that was there. And then when you used to play football, you used to have these 20-a-side games, you know, which would go on for hours on a Sunday type of thing. You know, you'd be kicked out the door and you go out and you play. And it's then when you started to play with these people, and a lot of time you were playing with people who were much older than yourself. Right, so for me, I always found myself gravitating to the slightly older boy. And then you started to realise when you heard the comments that you had a little bit of an ability. You know, they would say, "Oh, so and so was fast," or somebody would come and tackle you, but you stood strong even though you were little, and they were twice your size, and they go, "Oh, the person's quite solid." Not like that though. And so these things, you know, they sort of resonate with you. Okay. So I knew I had that little, there was a physical advantage with me, type of thing. The issue that I had was I was always small.
No short man syndrome, was it?
No. It's not. It's interesting, really, because my father was 6'4", but my mother's side are all diddy. You know, so I sort of in the middle.
Yeah.
But as you know, it all comes down to nutrition.
Yeah, we were speaking about this.
And if you're not getting the food, you're not going to grow.
Because obviously being one of 7 and in the financial situation your family was.
Oh, yeah.
There wasn't much food.
No, there wasn't. There wasn't much food.
Because you were 5'1" at 16, 17.
when I left school at 16, I was 5'1" and weighed just over 7 stone. You know,
It's a very different picture to what I was at 16.
a very different picture. You know, because you were fed.
Yes, I was fed.
You-
Unfortunately, I was fed. Thank you very much for feeding me.
You and your sister were well fed.
Yes.
And,
what was I at 16? Was I 5'11", 6 foot? Something like that. Had I crossed 6 foot by that point?
I think you were just about crossed because you then done your stretch.
Yeah, 5'11". Probably about 70 kilos ish. Definitely still over 70 kilos.
And I found it really interesting looking at your little medical book that you get. So from when you're born in that first 5 years, I remember looking at it and tracking it. I remember with your mum, and it was good looking at yours because it helped me to reflect on mine. And there you were, so you were 2, so you're 3'4". And I remember saying to your mum, I said, Tom's going to be about 6'3", 6'4". I said, look at that trajectory, look how that's growing. And the fact that you were getting food, you know, and you were very fortunate because, you know, in all, you know, especially in you had a good outdoor. We tried to bring you up as much as an outdoor as we could, and you were playing, especially in Larkhill and Thorney Island and stuff like that. You could just be out, which is great, a great thing to be able to do. So to watch what we gave to you and Penny, I could sort of sit and look back, and though we had the freedom type of thing as youngsters, some people might call it, you know, sort of feral type freedom, but we could. But it was just the food.
Yeah.
The food, you know. I mean, spam for roast dinner, or one chicken between 8, including mother, type of thing, you know. That don't go far, does it?
No. But you did eventually start getting fed, though. You got into work, started growing, 17, 18, 19.
Yes, started to grow.
And you started training a bit.
But just back to the physical with the school. You know, I would do all the competitions, but what I found was the boys that were growing bigger than me.
Yeah.
They just had that little edge on me again because of size. You know, size and youthfulness give them that strength. But I always remember Mr. Jones picking me out before we moved on to big school. You know, when he's there and we done the annual sports day and whatever and stuff like that. And again, I was just this little thing there, you know, compared to the likes of David Speed, Mark Felfall and Howie Robinson and George Carberry, who were all growing well.
Yeah.
You know, and a few others as well. But he went, and so the lads were all there. They were keen. They want to know what the teacher's got to say. And I said, well, who do you think is going to go on to do this and that and the other? And actually, he pointed to me. You know, this little thing at the front. He said, well, him. And you see them all looking, well, why him? You know, why the little runt who can't even grow? And it was just said, his technique, his drive, how is, you know. And he says, if he grows, he says the frame is there, you know, for him to get much faster.
Do you actually feel like a little runt? Or
No,
that's how you refer back to it.
No, I'm just referring back to it. Then, no, I never ever felt like a runt, and you know, I was quick.
Do you feel being? Because I was speaking to my mate on the podcast who came on, and he was a short. He is Dean. Dean is still a shorter guy, but he embraces it very well. And but he used to have like that typical like bit of anger about it. People taking the mick out of his height and stuff like that. Did you ever experience any of that?
No, I mean there was many other people who were developing slowly, because that's what it is. It's developing slowly. Yeah. You know, when I left school, because again, this was through my senior school, I was not big, even though we were all wearing platform shoes then and stuff like that. So I wasn't, and so I was always that little bit, though I was fast, that power that you needed, you know, for that last 10 metres or that last 20 metres, depending on the distance that you were running, that's what was lacking. There was loads of speed, but the big power people would come through.
You were noticing your speed, like playing football, doing like athletics and that. And stuff.
Yeah, doing athletics, stuff like that at school, you know, the athletics days and stuff. And so, yeah. Now, when I left school and I started work, because I didn't go in the army right away, as you know, I was just finding myself where I wanted to be. And so you would be down the boxing club, because that was always a good place to go and train. Again, unlike today, there was... we had like what we called the boys' club
Mm.
that you could go to, and there was a few of them in the area. Then there was the boxing clubs, and the boxing club you could go in, just pay your subs. It was normally 2p. The 2p you pay your 2p subs, and you could go in. And a lot of times you didn't have to pay anything, which was absolutely brilliant.
2p, that's mad.
Well, yeah, but when you put it into sort of context, then
Yeah,
because people would only earn and whatever.
Yeah.
People were only earning maybe at that time, people maybe earning 10, 20 pounds, 30 pounds a week at best.
Yeah.
Type of thing. And so it was all relative. But yeah, so there was lots of things you could go and do. And even if you didn't like to go to those clubs, just the way that it was, go and play football on the field and stuff like that. So, there was, it was just very natural to do physical stuff.
Mm.
But then when I left and I got into the catering business and I'd work in the kitchens, I think I told you about Ian the Master Chef, Mad Man United fan. And he would have us playing football every day. We would play football from about 10 o'clock to about 10:45. If timings are right. Yeah, we'd get in, you'd be in early, just before 8 o'clock, get yourself sorted. You'd do near on 2 hours worth of prep and everything, getting all things done. And then you'd be downstairs and you'd be playing football.
It's a good boss.
He was a good boss.
Recreational activities.
We'd have us all out because he was a Man United mad chef, absolutely brilliant, and strong disciplinarian as well. Actually, he was, but he would have us out and we'd be running. You just have the one goal, and however many it was, you could actually be playing individually,
yeah, or
you could play, teams of two, score or whatever, and you just be going, and then I'm not sure it was the first time, but one of the times when we played, he sort of said to me, he said, "Right, Derek, every time we finish this, you put a steak on the grill." And we had these big churns of milk, which were delivered every couple of days. All big churns, bang. And that'd be go in there, big ladle, pint of milk, steak straight off the grill. He said, every time we play football, you do that. And all of a sudden, I started to grow. And sort of a bit like you did, really, when you went from I suppose you must have been about 5'2", 5'3", or something like that.
Yeah.
You were as wide as you were big. And then you were like that, didn't you?
Stretched into it.
You just stretched. And so I had a sort of similar growth spurt, but mine was in a much shorter time frame in a sense. Because as you know, you're going to do your actual stretching growing sort of maybe 14 to 18 at a push. And, sort of 16 type of thing. Where what had happened to me is I got to 16 and I was still 5'1". And I only had that short window to get some stretch in me. But that's what it did. It happened. Then I got this stretch in me. And you start to you don't notice it. It's other people saying it to you.
100%, yeah.
And you go, "Oh, look at your dad. He's like this tall, isn't he? He's that. He's going to be whatever. He's going to be bigger than Keith." No, I wasn't going to be bigger than Keith. Keith was 6'3". He got fed because he was the eldest. So he got fed. So all of a sudden I started to grow. And then I could do things a little bit. I could be a little bit more, how can I put it? A bit more presence.
Yes. Did it change much in your health and fitness then, where you started noticing that height starts coming in? Your confidence?
Oh, it gives you confidence and stuff like that. And no, it does. When you grow, you start to feel like you're growing up. That's what it is. You give that feeling that you're growing up, and you're looking people more or less in the eye rather than looking here on them and stuff. And it's just how people are with you, And so then it was like back to the boxing clubs because that was great training. I loved the training, that was really hard work. The boxing training was really hard.
What did you find out yourself through that hard work stuff? Because obviously we'll come on to it, all the kind of big endurance stuff you've done. Did you kind of find you had like a mindset with fitness, just like you could just go for it and just keep doing it?
I always saw the fitness as a competition.
Yeah. For yourself or others?
Well,
or both.
I think that what you do is you get even like now.
Because some people are more internally and some people are more externally motivated.
Well, I'm sure that people are a little bit of both.
Some people can be both.
Yeah,
some people sway other ways. Like maybe people who like team sports might be a bit more external, and some people who are solo sports might be a bit more internal.
Yeah, but I think it's where your drivers come from.
Yeah. So yeah, what's yours?
Well, I think that you want to feel good in yourself.
Yeah. Right.
So that's a driver. You know, there's a period in your life where there's vanity, or maybe vanity is always in your life, even as you're getting older. But you know, sometimes you'll see people and you'll think, "Oh, I like that. Oh, good, they're good.
Yeah.
I wonder if I can do that as much as them." I always remember guys from the boxing club, you know, slightly older than you, or people who'd been going there longer, and you'd watch them when the boss would put certain challenges on. Like we used to do this squat thrust challenge. Right, this squat thrust challenge was a beast, and there was one guy there. I remember there used to be a program on TV called Superstars, and where they would do is they get some of the top sports people of the day, and they would do all these competitions. A little bit crazy compared to sort of what they sort of do now, but these were all people at the top of their game.
Yeah.
And so, you know, one of them there was a squat thrust competition, and they do a dips competition. And I remember this guy in the gym, older than me, whatever, nice boxer, and we would get down, and we were all doing the Brian Jacks techniques. So if anybody wants to look at the Brian Jacks squat thrust technique, Brian Jacks was a judo guy, possibly world champion at some weights, and he'd been in this competition a few times. And what he'd done is he where a lot of people do squat thrust and their hands and their feet and their knees are too far apart. They stretch themselves too far. And so Brian Jacks had said, actually, there's an easier way of doing this. So what he'd done is he'd learned a way where he brought his hands directly under the shoulder. So what he's doing is he's forcing his shoulders more forward into the position. What's that doing is bringing the hips forward and the knees forward. So when he is moving, his back is staying nice and flat. And the distance that his knees need to go in order to touch his elbows is much shorter. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so what was the challenge?
Well, no, this was one of the things in the competition, and he would that they had to do it. So Brian Jackson did this one. And then what he also done is he put silver foil over the toes of his training shoes and created a slide rather than a jump. Right?
Yeah.
And we all saw this. And the boss saw it at the gym. Right, we're all going to do this. Anyway, this guy I'm on about was in the gym. He beat it.
Yeah.
He beat it. And it's little things like that you sort of look, you went, okay, I'm going to look at that. So I made squat thrust one of the things. I thought, right, squat thrust, that is a nasty exercise. And then you develop that on then to the burpee.
Yeah.
With squat thrust followed by a jump. You know, when I was saying, right, I want to do what Brian Jackson.
Burpees.
Burpees, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. You know, and we used to do these, and we used to say, right, we want to do the same number of burpees in a minute that Brian Jacks was doing just on squat thrust. And me and Paddy Allen, guy was in the army with, and another lovely boxer, very fit guy. He had a real natural fitness. Mine was more, I sort of worked at it. He was more endurance, where I was more speed and power. And but he was a good foil. He was a really, really good foil, you know. And so we were really good foils for each other. And he was good, but we would do these things. So I think you saw it as a challenge to yourself, but you're actually using other people in order to measure yourself, you know. And in many ways, you know, it's doing it with the other people, even though, you're going against them, but you're also going against yourself. So it's,
Did you do much fizz with the brothers and sister?
no, God,
Never any of
no,
that, like
no,
family competition or anything.
no, too busy surviving. too busy surviving. Even though it was fun in the house. No, did we do? I tell you what. Right, we played a game of tick. Right, now this was physical.
Tick, what, just tag?
Tick. Yeah, tag,
Yeah.
tick like that.
And then call it tick up in northern land.
Yeah, but we had off ground tick, so you couldn't be ticked or tagged while you were off ground.
Okay.
All right, so if you're off ground, so you'd be there like that. Yeah, you'd be sat in the house and you'd be watching people, and you'd be like that, and you'd be going because you'd be it, and you're just there. You wait, and you see people, and you can see people. Your brothers and sisters would be walking around. You'd have a cushion, and they'd be like this. And but how was this physical? One night I was going out. Jimmy Douglas, my mate, was coming to meet me. We were going out, so Jimmy comes to the front door. Jimmy. 6'3", all the girls loved him. Going out with squat money. Anyway, our Keith, your late Uncle Keith, he was it. I comes down the stairs, didn't I? Things crossed. He flies out the living room. Only a little tiny council house. He flies out there to tag me, to tick me. But I turns and I grabs him. Next thing you know, so I'm all dressed up. Best I can. And we wrestled. We were wrestling. He was big. We were wrestling on the floor. Jimmy's just stood there looking. And I don't know. It felt like it went on for hours. We were just there. I mean, mother's there. God, stop, Somebody's got to stop this game. So we did those sorts of competitions.
Like an ongoing game of it.
That lasted for about 3.5 years before my mother said, I've had enough.
There's that movie of those four friends. I think it's just called Tag or something like that.
Okay.
And it's four friends who every year, I think it was during the month of May, they'd have a month-long game of tag. Yeah. So whoever was last on last year, on the 1st of May, they'd then start the game. So it was in America. Yeah. And they all lived in different parts of America, but they would start flying to one another and try and get them.
Sneaking up on them.
The month, I mean, the movie's quite funny. I think it's probably the movie's a bit over-exaggerated, but there's one of them disguises themselves as an old lady in a shopping mall and catches one of them as they come out of a shop. So that it seems quite funny. It's just four friends.
No, I think that things like that are absolute class. So that is another way of doing physical. Yeah. You take it, you're bringing the fun into it.
Yeah.
It was. So
you had that. You had the boxing. So you're starting to kind of feel yourself a little bit more.
Yeah, you're starting to, develop yourself physically. I was never much into teams.
Yeah.
Even though I played rugby for a couple of years, but again, that sort of tailed off because
I don't think we spoke about that.
Oh no, the rugby was great. So I was playing scrum half. Played scrum half for the school, and we were doing actually quite well. We had a Mr. Hamilton. Remember Mr. Hamilton? He was rugby mad, and then Mr. Ryan took it over from him. Big fella. These were two contrasting people. One was your little small scrum half type person, and Mr. Ryan was definitely much more of front row. But I did that. But again, it was how that started to develop. I just had people who were that little bit bigger than me. It was at the time, and maybe I just didn't want to do, compete with others for a slot. Maybe I was a little bit too conciliatory in a sense, and I just you want to do it, you do it. I'll go off and have a go at this sort of type of thing. And I did the rugby, which I really liked, and that was the sort of team thing.
Yeah,
that I sort of got into.
Do you feel like the training and that, especially the boxing and stuff, because obviously training's quite tough, it teaches you much self-resilience?
The boxing does. The boxing most definitely does. But I also think that the upbringing of in that period made you resilient. Without getting into the sort of social economic issues that maybe kept everybody where they were. But the fact it was just that where we were
Yeah.
as a community and as a people, it made you resilient because you knew that you said, well, actually, I'm going to have to go for this
Yeah.
because nobody's going to give it to me. Here's that. Nobody's going to give me this at all. In fact, if anything, people are going to take it.
I mean, that's still...
Nothing's changed.
Nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. A lot more people are more entitled.
Oh, I mean,
Nowadays.
I don't think it's a lot more people that are entitled. I think there might be a thing where people, sometimes they feel entitled, but there's definitely an entitled group.
You see it more now, though, don't you? With like social media, you see like the increase of like people labeling themselves things and stuff like that. But I think there definitely is like a big push of it. I mean, you've seen more of a change in the world than I have.
I think there's. I think in one sense, I mean, we've digressed here. I think in one sense, the only thing that's changed, in a sense, is how we actually do stuff. Because communication is still communication.
Yeah.
It's the fact that years ago you had to write somebody a letter, you had to walk down to their house or to their office or wherever, knock on the door and speak to them.
Yeah.
You could send a telegram. There you go to the post office, write a telegram. But it's still communication. And it's how we write things. So where nowadays it's the same communication, it's much more, it's instant. And if you're not careful, it's actually there before you've said it, sort of type of thing. So I think there's that. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. I suppose it's down to the individuals and how they use it. And so I think people still always want the right answers. They still want to do the right thing. So I don't think there's too much change. It's just the way that we do it. It's like when you look at athletics and you look at sport, you see world records being set. Now, we look at Roger Bannister's mile when he broke the mile, the 4-minute mile. He was the first person to break that time. Now there you saw a guy who was also, I think he was a lecturer at the time and stuff. He had his job. He run that on a cinder track with a pair of spikes. Yes, okay, he had pace setters and stuff like that, but it was a cinder track, on a windy day, and he goes and does it. Now, obviously, the avalanche came after that, but you then see people now looking to records. They're on spring-loaded tracks.
Yeah, perfect shoes, perfect clothing,
shoes and stuff like that.
Perfect environments has made it in.
The wind is gauged and those sorts of things. But people are still having to put the same work in.
Yeah.
But what they've done is they've got
the environment's just a little bit different.
The environment is sort of set for them, type of thing. So yes, we still want to set records, but we just learn. What it is that there's a lot of environmental things and a lot of assistance that comes along, sort of nowadays.
So, what was your environment then around your training and lifestyle? Did you have much support from family and friends?
Well,
the stuff you're trying to do for yourself.
I think no. There was the family thing was just a family thing, and in a sense, I was described as happy-go-lucky. I wandered lonely as a cloud, type of thing, child, just walking around. And
what do you feel that did for you?
Well, I think I learned that it gave me a confidence in a sense. Some people might say that I was very naive in sort of thing. People had a tendency to go where they felt comfortable, and where I picked up on a motto from years ago is if you can't walk in an unknown pub by yourself and order a pint, then you've got an issue. And many times I've just walked into a pub, and walked up and ordered myself a pint, and I'm quite happy to.
It's happy-go-lucky.
It's happy-go-lucky. There'll be people in the pub that might give you a look, and whatever, that says more about them. But so, I was confident. Gives you the confidence, the sort of self-assuredness to go and do that again without being arrogant and without being arrogant, without being aggressive.
Did you have any role models, whether it was celebrities or people you looked up to in kind of the people you kind of met along the way before the military?
I think a great influence for me in just watching was, it was Muhammad Ali as a boxer for me. You just watched. And, and it was good to watch and listen to those people. But I think I always found that, even though I had the most unbelievable respect for him and what he went through and what he did and what he achieved, and actually, if people want to really try to understand it, they'll actually realise with him, boxing was only the platform to allow him to do what he really wanted to do, which he often said. But I always found that when you found somebody who was good and was talking straight with you, they would influence you. So it could be anybody. It could be, we used to have Mr. McChrystal. Mr. McChrystal used to run one of the two boys' clubs in the area of Speak in Liverpool. Now, Mr. McChrystal, he had a group of boys, and these boys were tough. He didn't go around showing that they were tough, but they were tough boys. And he was a tough man. Now, Mr. McChrystal used to run all sorts. He used to, and he made sure that we were all fine, and you felt safe with Mr. McChrystal. So, I still talk about Mr. McChrystal to you now. I know from me being, 10.
Yeah.
I know. His name's firmly in my head because I looked at what he did for the community, the things that he did, how he brought up his children, as a father. And so, in a sense, is he a role model? There's really good parts to pick from Mr. McChrystal, as there was from Mr. Ryan and Mr. Hamilton, two of the teachers. And the first guy who I told you who said I would develop as a runner was Mr. Jones. And it's those people who obviously sort of looked at you. And they may have only just made one comment here or dropped something in your ear. But if they got it right, it was the right thing, it sort of meant something, bang, it was there. You went, okay, he's telling me something there, or she's telling me something there. Right, let's not waste that.
Yeah, I think those interactions are quite valuable. There's
brilliant,
few I can think of people just along the way, whether it's coaches or just people in the gym, people in passing, people in business that just kind of, they say something, they come in at the right time and they just say something that just kind of clicks and sticks with you with the situation that you're in.
Most definitely.
Something you kind of then continue to run with.
And I think when you take that opportunity, it's like when you used to have all your friends come over and stay over, which was really great. And me, bit of Father Clown and stuff like that. But I like to think I wasn't always Father Clown with them.
No, even the ones that still keep in contact now, they always ask, how's Derek? And because of the amount of times you've sat there with each and every one of them and had a deep, unpacking, meaningful conversation and just given them something, whether it was started off something funny and led to something serious.
And that's it. And it's when you just try to say to people, and a lot of the time what you're doing is, you've done this analysis of yourself. You've done that little study of yourself, and you've looked at, the things you've done, what you could have done, and these things. And, sometimes you beat yourself up over stuff because you think, missed opportunity. But you get to a point, you go, okay, look, bang, bang. Maybe it just wasn't meant to be. But you look at those things and you're watching people when they're getting to 14, 15, 16, 18, even into their early 20s. And they're on that ladder or they're on that path. And if you've got something that you can just share with them, just a little thing to share and say, I think that's a good thing. If they're interested, they'll take it on board. If they're not. And I always found that with your friends, just those little basic things you used to say, this is how you shake a hand.
Yeah, that'll be something. That's something that sticks with me. And that'll be definitely something that'll stick with them if they took it in the same way.
I remember, who was it? Was it Big Ollie? Because you had a few Ollies. You had a little blonde Ollie, didn't you? And then you had the big...
No, there was...
Who was the one who was sat on the toilet when you all went to... And he was asleep on the toilet?
He was asleep on
the toilet. It was
absolutely
absolutely drunk. Big lad.
Sam, maybe?
Was it Big Sam?
Yes,
Dark
Sam.
hair?
Sam, that would have been Sam, yeah.
Sorry,
Sam,
Big
yeah.
Sam.
'Cause Ollie, both the Ollies were little.
Dark haired Ollie and blonde
Yeah,
hair.
both of them little.
Because he was the Ollie who had a head out the window because he was being sick.
Yes.
Right. Sorry.
Was this like what birthday was it? My 16th or something like that?
Maybe 6 7, but it's like that.
Damage control.
That was right. Get your head out and I'm driving. There you go. Be sick out there. And sorry, yeah, it was Big Sam.
No, 18. We don't let kids drink under the age of 18.
That's right, we don't. It was 18 and a half. And Sam come to the house. I saw him there. And he'd been for a job interview. And he said to me, I went to this job interview. He says, and I remember what you said about shoes. I remember what you said about shaking the hand, looking in the eye. And he said, the guy at the end of the interview, he said he commented on how I introduced myself. He said it was very, very mature.
Yeah.
Bullshit baffles brains, mate.
No, it's not bullshit.
No, it's not. I know it's not.
It's how you hold yourself. Those first 3 seconds that you have with someone is like really, really good. Gives you a good picture of like who that person is.
You may have heard me say this before, right? And please, but for this, always remember this: you're only as good as your outside areas. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense to you? And that works in whatever. That can be from a household perspective. Do you clean your windows? Do you brush your path? Do you get the weeds disappeared? Maybe the rear. Your bins are full, but you keep them tidy. That's, I think, how you present yourself. So if you're going somewhere, don't be late. Don't be too early. Okay? Dress appropriately. Nobody's saying don't be yourself, but dress appropriately. And, and be respectful. Just treat people how you expect to be treated. And just those tiny little things. I mean, you might not get a job or you might not get something at the end of the day, but, be true to yourself. Don't forget your standards. Have those standards. And things should be, things will then be what they're supposed to be. But going in, being late, dirty shoes, ain't cleaned your teeth, type of thing, don't work.
Do you feel you had this kind of mindset before the military?
Well,
when do you reckon this kind of mindset for yourself started developing? That you having some form of standards for yourself? You probably had some standards for yourself.
Yeah.
Like, when did it become conscious?
I think my mother was very, Grandma Shirley, right? Very, very disciplined. Mm-hmm. Right? She was by herself relatively quickly, even though there were 7 kids. It's amazing how quick 7 kids could come in those days.
Yeah.
But, by the time I was, let me think, by the time I was 7, right? So she was very much by herself before that, actually. And so the stuff that we had, you had to look after. You did. You wore your clothes all week, right? Then she had our jobs for us, so, right, you was lot going to the laundrette. You two are going to the laundrette this week to do the family wash type of thing. And so you had the old pram. All the stuff went into the pillowcases. And you went on, that's whites, that's colours, that's this, that's that. And you got your money and off you went. There. So what you had was not much. And you did have to try to look after it a bit.
Could you imagine sending me your penny to the laundrette at age 7?
Would have been a good one, wouldn't it? It would. Have you ever been to a laundrette?
No.
You've never been to a laundrette?
Never been in a laundrette, no.
Right.
I've never used one. Maybe I've stepped foot in one, but I've never used anything.
I tell you what, it's a good thing to do if you want a little bit of time to yourself, right? Seriously, a little bit of time to yourself to do stuff. You take all your stuff down the laundrette, put your wash it, and then sit there. And you can do a little bit of work, right? You'd be there, you'd be talking, do whatever you do. Go to the laundrette, do your wash, spin it, put it in the spin.
How long would you spend in a laundrette?
Oh, you could spend. Me and our Arthur, we used to get laundry duties together, didn't we? You could be at the laundrette maybe 3-4 hours.
Doing them all.
Yeah, you used to have all this. I mean, you used to have this big roller, this big press roller, and so my mother makes. And you were trained, mate, on how to feed the sheets, the bed sheets into this, because they weren't these corners that you got nowadays. They were, big rectangle things, and you'd have to feed that in. And as it was coming out, you'd have to do your folding. Get that folding wrong, Big Shill was all over you. Right?
Did she originally start by taking you down there and showing you?
No, I think that we may have had a quick demonstration in the house. Then it was quick demonstration in the house. Get that signed off as a competency, right? Where she keep her log, sign it off.
Certification.
But hey, what do you mean?
You've done the training. You should know how to do this.
You should know how to do it, because then she could beat you up.
Yeah.
You beat you up if you got it wrong.
Disciplinary.
You're on a discipline, and that's the pocket money I was going to give you, which I've never give you. Well, you're not going to get, and. So you would do these jobs, and then we have to do the brasses. So we didn't have much, but the bits that my mother had, she made sure it was all clean, and you all had your jobs. You all had your jobs to do, and so I think that is putting something inside you.
Yeah.
Then, when we started to get a little bit of money, whether it be you got a paper round, you got a milk round, I think because I was the fifth, so when the others started to work, that was bringing a bit of money into the house. Because before all that, while everybody was at school and stuff like that, the only thing that we had really was my mother got this sort of welfare benefit, which then the rent came out of, the rent and the rates came out of. Then your gas and electric, you have to pay for. And then there was the food. So there was nothing spare. Our clothes come, for quite a long time, it came school grant. So we get this school grant, and in the summer, you get this big yellow form, and which was like, you are a leper, carrying this big yellow form. Then you had to go to this place, big warehouse place, miles away, and we would walk there and get our clothes then, which was for the next year's school. So you get your blazer, your shirt, your jumper, and it was all the big, woolly, heavy, hairy stuff. You got all the other families and that were there. They would all have their nice blazer and stuff like that. This big, hairy thing, type of thing. That you wear big, horrible shoes, big steel toe cap.
Have you ever bullied?
No, I wasn't bullied. I think no, I wasn't, and. Don't get me wrong, there was people that might have not liked you, but that was only the odd person. Through junior school, I don't remember any bullying. I do, there's lots of things that as I got a little bit older, I started to go, oh, that was that, was that. And you started to realise these things. So for me, in our school, in my primary school, we were apparently Stockton Wood Road School at the time was the largest county primary school in the UK. It's colossal, and classes of 40, and various teachers, and you were there. But I was the only mixed race kid in our whole year, right? And then there was mixed race kid below me. Tony Gray, if my memory is correct. And there was one above me, he was a black guy, who I became good friends with, Norman Springer. But we were in this colossal school, and we were it.
Yeah.
But you never felt at that time, yet there was terminology, but I think it's nothing like what we get today from our politicians and our media and how they drive it.
Yeah.
I felt then we were much more advanced, mixed community than we are today, or what we're led to believe that we are. So I don't think there's any bullying. And when I got into senior school, I don't know, this maybe my happy-go-luckiness with me, and I sort of it carried me through. Don't get me wrong. There was one guy at school who really took a disliking to me, and he was a much bigger boy. And I remember one day he come in with all these other guys, and I just sat there having my dinner, like that. And he said I'd said this, that, and the other, and stuff like that. And I always took this thing of being non-aggressive. I just sat there and I listened, and I was listening like that. Then he's got his cronies around me, and he was sort of twice the size of me, really. And then to be tough, what he does was he smacks me across the face, smacks me like that. And I just, all right, and he went away. And he went away then. He thought, I've made my points and stuff like that. But what was interesting was apparently a week or so later, I heard the story of a guy called Keith O'Grady. Wonderful man. Wonderful guy I went to school with. Where I was 5'1", Keith was about 6'3". And such a wonderful guy. So funny. So capable in many different ways. But never bullied anybody, never did anything like that. But apparently he'd got this guy that had slapped me across the face. And he'd walked up to him right in the middle. We used to have this shopping precinct type thing. Yeah. And he walks up to him when he's with all his friends. And he apparently calls him out in relation to this. And this Ronnie used to wear glasses and stuff like that. And he really did used to think that he was something special. But apparently what Keith did was, Keith slapped him right across the face, knocked his glasses off, went over there like that and said, right, now go and pick him up. And I always thought to myself, was that a bit of karma? You know? Maybe. I always thought to myself, so I don't know if that explains whether I was bullied or not, or how
your experience
things got on.
I think I was similar throughout school, with the happy-go-lucky kind of thing, because I could have been bullied for weight and stuff like that, and there was probably comments, but nothing's really scratched the surface of me. Yeah. But I was still just kind of happy, going my way, changed friendship groups most years.
Yeah.
You know, I definitely did. I mean, definitely the people I started with, not the people I ended up with in terms of school. And there's probably a bit of similarities there. Yeah,
it is. But again, that's all just a part of the growing up. Yeah. And the thing that you learn as you get slightly older is, you know, people's actions and words reveal more about them than whatever it is that they think that they're trying to say or do. Mm. And so, you know, once you get that inside your head and once you accept that, then that's a good thing. And, you know, and then, you know, you don't start worrying about other things or worrying about what people have said. Just crack on, type of thing. I must admit, it took me quite a while to get to that position, you know, and which was maybe one of those times when I got to that phase where I really wasn't mixing with people. Yeah. I would move around, but I wasn't going into any long-term sort of friendships and stuff like that. There was always people I knew I was safe to move to, and but as I say, I wouldn't hang around too long.
Mm. So you had like a bit of independency then, instilled quite early on.
Yes, it is.
The situation and environment that you're in.
Yeah, and I think independence is, in a sense, is a good thing. Mm. If you can learn to live with yourself, and if you like your own company, that's good. But you know, don't let that be the thing.
Yeah.
You know, my advice always would be to people, it's like with your mum. You know, your mum has got her friendship groups. She's got various friendship groups.
Loads.
Exactly. Loads. And, but that's good for her. And she does that well. I've got a couple of little friendship groups, things that you know, that I do, which I learn, you know, from your mother. So don't really sacrifice people. Don't sort of push people away. It's like now I find myself over this last, 10 years. I'm engaging with people who I was meeting in my 20s, in my early 20s, and which is a really nice thing. And but yeah, I think it's sort of get that balance. You know, don't be a martyr to sort of isolationism, right? Just sort of find that balance.
Yeah. So how did that independence then transition later in life? So as you're going into the military, 2021, weren't you?
Yeah, and because I went in slightly late, and well, I think it's good because in many ways even though the military, the forces, it's people going about the teamwork and stuff like that, but you speak to any team, And what people are looking to say is like, right, first of all, sort yourself out.
Yeah.
Make sure that you can deliver.
You're like a cog in a wheel, and
Yeah,
each cog's got to be able to do its job.
exactly. And then it's there. Then when you start to interact with people and you start to read people, and you start to understand, what you can offer, where your gaps are, and then if you've got a good person who's putting teams together, what they're looking to do is address those gaps. Are you with me? Or you're looking for continuity. So if we lose that, where's the continuity coming? It's here, and which is a good thing about that. So being able, being content with yourself and being able to work and drive and set a good standard yourself is a good thing. Then you've just got to work then how that fits in. So first of all, you've got to respect those people over there, or they're all versions of you, if that makes sense. They're all independent as well. And then it's actually, but we've got to go and do this task. How are we going to work that together? And then that's when you start to see different things that come out, where you start to see maybe there's a little bit of leadership in you, right? Sometimes it's a little bit, how could I put it, you get the things wrong, but you've gone, okay, you learn. And so you learn these different things then, because you think, well, actually, come on, we've got to come together.
Yeah.
And then nobody's been put in charge, but you're all like that. You see people looking, so who's going to step up? And I would find a lot of the time I would step up, or sometimes I'd sit there and just read the room. And you think, well, actually, he's been around quite a while. He's been around. I'm expecting them. But then when you think, when you needed to, how can I feed my bit in? Because I think this needs to be fed in. So even though you might find it hard to believe, there's a lot of times when you were quiet. I mean, that could be very quiet. I think that's maybe when I get to talk with people, because I haven't talked to anybody for ages. I'll talk a lot. But larger being quite quiet, because you say, no, be careful here.
Yeah, there's a reason, place for it.
Yes, exactly. And so sometimes, in fact, remember when we were in Belize and we were doing that, somebody said to me at the end of the tour, a guy called Bill Broster, he said, I was surprised to see how quiet you were for that whole 6 months. I said, well, I was working in with a new group, and they were some very, very strong characters there. Some of them, so they thought. And you think, right, don't go too fast here. You got a whole 6 months here. You make a mess on day one, right? You're going to have your back to the wall for a long time.
So how long were you in the military again? How long in the army?
I did 25 years what I'll call operational service. Was there. And then I went into that job for 10 years, which, to be honest, I was working more in support of the military than.
So what do you reckon you found out about yourself in those early years of serving? What do you reckon? How did the army shape you?
Well, again, I think if you were applying your standards, the army gave you an opportunity. It gave you an opportunity to express yourself.
Yeah.
You knew what your job was to a point. You're going to do that, and you've got to learn that job. But then, obviously, you've got that two-tier structure that you're in, right? In the forces, in life, really, there's these two-tier structures. And so you had the officers who ran the army, right? It was their train set. And then you had us, the enlisted filth, the soldiers, right? There you were. These are calling the shots and everything. Now, what you're looking to do is to deliver the best you can. And maybe look to do something slightly outside the box. So I always found so physically, I was fine. I wasn't the fastest. I wasn't the slowest. I wasn't the strongest. Right? But overall, you're putting all the things together. I was right up physically in that top echelon. Okay? Right up in that top echelon. Which I sustained for quite a long time.
The average of your output.
Yeah, I was right up there.
Yeah, when we were speaking to Mark, he said he wasn't the fastest or anything like that, crap runner or anything like that, but he was just the the head down will just keep going with these things. Keep turning it up.
Yeah.
Keep ticking the boxes.
Keep ticking the box. Work out where you are, and I found that there was things I was better at, but we'll come on to that sort of type of thing. So I found that. So I worked out that I was good on the physical. So then it was saying, right, let's look at the other stuff, and then you learn to bring the physical into your job, because the military, in a sense, it's physical. And we were the Royal Artillery, the Commando Royal Artillery in the Citadel where I was. And so there's a physicalness to that job. So we wanted to make sure, so my gun subs that I was on, that I grew up on, that I went on and then, I grew up on, you made sure that, you were first into action, because a lot of physicalness of moving this big gun. Right, so you want to be first into action, get yourself dug in, everything and stuff like that, quick as you can. Right, be ready to fire. First out of action when you were moving. Any little challenges that were given, let's go for it. Everything was all about being prepared, being ready. We would have, let's keep everything ordered. And don't get me wrong, when we got into action, okay, right, we're waiting to fire, right, get a cup of tea on, get this. But everything was about, let's do it well, let's do it fast, let's be professional. And so you set that standard, and the officers up there are looking at this, because they're looking to say, who are we going to promote? Because then, as I say, they're in charge, because they're the ones who do the written word. And, they do the promotion boards, and it's up to them who they promote. So what you have to do is you put yourself in that frame. And so you worked hard, and if you were fit, so you did well on the physical competitions, right? You were smart. You did little bits of things outside the box. It's like if they wanted people to go and take part in certain competitions, I'll have a bit of that. I'll go and do that. That's not a problem. Or sometimes what you do is you just set competitions. You say, oh, let's have a look. We've got a bit of downtime here. What are we going to do? So I remember, let's say the first time I did an endurance thing was in Aldershot. So in basic training. And they'd done this 24-hour run. And it was only around, a track, a football pitch.
Yeah.
You run around there. So it was all set up, and we did that 24 hours. And
as a team? Or solo?
It was individually.
Individual.
It was individual, and off you went, and stuff like that. And off we went. And then you had people there ticking off and everything and stuff like that.
So you competed in that?
I competed in that.
What was it about you that made you want to do something like that? Because a 24-hour run, if I mention that to most people, they're like, fuck off, no. What 24-hour run? Why would I want to do that? Most people don't want to do 30-minute run. So what was in you that'd be like, yeah, I'll do a 24-hour run? That seems normal.
I think it was the challenge. It was looking for those things. I think you were just trying to find things out about yourself.
And this was like one of the first big ones you did.
Yeah, so we went and did that. Now I think I did about 80 something miles. Yeah. And the lad said, "Oh, you did 103 miles." I think you've put a couple of extra ticks on that log. I would say that
was it like a 400-meter lap?
Yeah, so you're going around 400 meter lap, and you're just constantly going, and you're just constantly going and going, and what was funny was as well, I decided to do it in military boots. Yeah. So again, I was. What was that?
What were you thinking?
Well, exactly. But I thought, well, I'm in the army. Yeah. Let's do it in these boots. I remember starting off quite quick, and then I was watching other people, and I thought, oh, I think I need to slow down here. And then when you realise that you're doing these endurance events, it's the speed comes. Your speed in relation to your overall time comes from the fact of how consistent you can be in your pace. Yeah. Right? Rather than being fast, slow, stop. It's that, and so, having done other stuff as years gone by, and you see people who were much older than you, and you might go past them initially, but then into the event, they're going past you, and you're thinking, right, hold on, I'm 24. This person going past me has got to be mid-50s, which is where I am now. And so...
60s.
Please don't. Please. So anyway, again, all of a sudden you're thinking, right, I'm doing stuff wrong here. And then you just learn, right, so let's gauge this now. And so you got these endurance events. And I think, so back to what the Army offers, it offers these opportunities. And if you've got, the officers they love nothing more than being able to go into the officers' mess and say, gunner so-and-so, or bombardier so-and-so, corporal, sergeant, my sergeant is doing this, that, and the other. But a lot of time, what you're doing is you're saying, yeah, I'm doing this because something I want to do. You're going to get off on it over there. Absolutely fine. But we would just do those things, like me and Chris Price. You remember Chris Price. And we organised this, round England triathlon. And again, we just had one of these really boring periods going on. And we said, well, what are we going to do? And we said, so I came up with this idea, so let's go do this. So basically what it was going to be is, there used to be a swimming pool up at Seaton Barracks, where it was there, which is now Land Registry and stuff like that, and that future inns. So up that pool, so we got that book, so we did 26-mile swimming there, right, in legs. So everybody was doing like 2.5 miles.
Yeah.
Then we did a cycle, which went from Plymouth to Chester, from Chester across to York, and then from York all the way down to Dover. So that was the cycle in legs. Again, people were doing like sort of 40 miles at a time. And then we did the run from Dover to Plymouth. 300 odd miles along those coast roads. And again, we were all doing that. But this was constant. We're keeping it going. So you were if you weren't driving, you were collecting money. If you weren't like collecting money or doing like food for people, you were resting just from what you've done because you give you time to get that rest in the back of a vehicle, or you were just getting ready to go onto your leg. And but yeah, we did that, and that was fantastic. But again, it was a really brilliant thing to do because, first of all, there's the amount of people I wrote to, written to. So I wrote to all the police services, I wrote to all the councils. I sat myself, wrote to the lot, and let them all know. I got quite a few responses back. We can't condone what you're doing, can't support it, but good luck in what you're doing. But at least I'd let them know that what we were doing. Spoke to all the military units, say we'd go in, and again, no mobile phones in this time. Right? There's nothing like that. There's no email. And you wrote to people, you called them, and so I did all that. We planned it, and we were all just gunners, privates. Some people were junior NCOs, one tape. I think Ken Booth, who come as admin for us, was brilliant. He was possibly a bombardier, a corporal, and off we went and did it. Collected loads of money for Whitey Lane School and Cot Death, which was the two charities that we raised for, and we did that. So, the military was brilliant at being able to do those things. That you could just go and do that. I think it's a lot different nowadays.
So that's obviously what it gave you, but how do you think it shaped you? So that environment that allowed you to do these things and express yourself in these ways, challenge yourself, push yourself, be able to travel and stuff like that, but it was also an environment where it was very regimented, strict to do stuff. What do you reckon it did for you? How do you reckon it shaped you?
Well, I think all it does is maybe it just confirms your standards, or it helps
you though personally.
Well, but I think that's it. Me personally, and I think that's what I'm saying is, it's something that you're either comfortable with or you're not. All right. As an individual, what it does is it just makes you learn things about yourself.
What do you reckon you learned?
Well, you learn that you could be quick off the mark, but then maybe not have the ability to carry it on. You could learn that maybe you miss opportunities, so you've got to get in there. I think it just it gets you to think about decisions, gets you try to make good decisions, try to do things well, learn to be honest. You know, you mess up, take it on the chin. You know, that's what you do. And that's a good thing is if you mess up, ownership, you know, again, something which is really gone rotten in this country, right? Absolutely rotten in this country. Ownership is
no one wants to put their hands up.
No, and again, you know, we have a set of laws, you know, I guess, and we have a set of laws which is about keeping the little people in their place. But those who are big, influential, then the most that they have to do is say sorry, or sorry, we must learn our lessons from this and ensure that we never do it again. Where you take a 100th of what they've done, and that gets a normal person bang to rights. You know, and so, but ownership, you know, own things, go, yeah, all right, got that wrong.
Do you reckon it taught you much about failure?
Yeah, it does. You know, when you start, I think you should you learn from quite early on that whether it's failure or whether it's you just haven't met the standard or you're not up to the standard, right? It teaches you that. Yeah, there was a couple of things that I failed at, and I sort of went, oh. Okay, it's like when I went on the JESMEL course, so the Joint Services Mountain Leader course. So that's the higher qualification. Then there's UEL, which is the lower qualification. And initially, I didn't get the JESMEL qualification. And what I'd allowed myself to do in my navigational exercises up in Scotland, the instructor come alongside me. And he distracted me, and he distracted me purposefully. Because he was wanting to see whether I'd go, hold on, if I was leading a leg. Sorry, I just need to concentrate on this. But what I did was I got into a conversation with him, you know? And this happened twice in the week. And it made me overshoot my mark. And I realised it overshot my mark. I come back and he went, no, so there was a cross next to my name. So come the end of the thing, it was, you know, you got UEL, you're going to need to show again to get your JESMEL. So I thought, oh. You know, that was me just trying to be all things to all people at the time, rather than just going, excuse me, I'm working hard here. Can I just concentrate? And then either going, good, tick, I'll have a little bit of that. But because I allowed myself to be distracted, and I made it worse for myself, type of thing, because it was, I missed an obvious point. You know, I missed this obvious point. And then I tried to blag, type of thing. And anyway, he was like that, shaking his head, looking at me. And I thought, so all of a sudden that week became hard. And then I thought, right, don't let that happen again.
What do you reckon your own mindset is around failure and challenges?
First of all, you've got to say to yourself, is it failure? You know, have I failed? Right, because sometimes people will say, I've failed, but have they really? You know?
No, if you don't try it again,
well, you know, well, and there's that. You know, a lot of time, you know, every day is a school day, isn't it? Every day is an absolute school day. You know, you got us all as old farts in the gym, trying to get bodies back as if we were young. You know. So, you know, have we failed? Well, possibly failed to manage our bodies properly. You know, when we were younger. Hey, look, without failure, there can't be success, or there can't be success without failure. All right. and that's a fact. It's down to the individual of whether they want to say that they failed or not. It can be defeatist. I think it can be a negative thing, and so I think you just got to contextualize stuff.
Of course.
Yeah, you just got to put things into context and say, okay, well, we can go again. It's like the first time I did the Welsh 1000, which is this run up in North Scotland. Sorry, Scotland. Wales.
In France.
In France, yeah. Anyway, in North Wales.
Yeah. So
you start off at a place about 4 miles east of Bangor, and you're right on the coast, and then you finish on the top of Snowdon. So you go up Cardiff, Llewellyn, back down, up over the side of Trefan, down, and then up Snowdon to finish 22 miles. Now, I was one of the better runners in that type of thing in the regiments at the time, and I had a terrible day on my first attempt. Terrible day. Little things I got wrong. Pardon me. As a team, we didn't stick together. So it was 5 of us. One was like a runner reserve, and we split up. And and then the clan came in. Orientation. You're trying to move too quick. Your orientation is sketchy at best. And I got to the end, but going up Snowdon, I'm working hard here, and I've wasted a lot of energy today. And it all came down to the preparation, the build up, and stuff like that, and then working as a team or working as a pair. So when I went second year and third year, then things just improved. They just improved, year on year, and until I became a top 10 finisher my last time, which is really, really good. And but again, just getting those things right, sort of at the time. So it's I could have just sat back on that and went, I won't go again. But it was something that I liked, up in the mountains, up in the hills. Yeah, I like that stuff.
You've definitely done a lot of big challenges. Like you've already just said 3, 24-hour run. Yeah. British, you did a UK triathlon. The rounding triathlon, yeah. There's a guy at the moment actually who's doing run. I think it's Ashley Kane. He's doing run, Land's End, John O'Groats. Then he's doing cycle, John O'Groats, Land's End. Then he's doing kayak, Land's End, John O'Groats.
So he's quite impressive. And actually, he's doing it all by himself.
Yeah, so I think he's got someone he's currently running with. I think they've almost done the run. But he might have someone different for the cyclist or something. Anyway, he's doing it for a charity. But I think stuff like that quite impressive, the 3 things you already mentioned there. So what other things did you challenge yourself with in the military? There
was another thing that we did. Again, this was me. I talked about being in Belize when I was quiet.
Yeah.
But one of the things I did to sort of get myself... I said, we can do a round Belize run here. So we looked where the military camps were.
Yeah.
And I said to the boss, I said, why don't we do a round Belize run? So this lot run to there, that lot run to there, blah, blah, blah.
I don't know why I was looking there. Like you actually,
it was a map.
Like there was actually a map there.
So what you had was, you had airport camp.
Yeah.
Holdfast camp. Redoubt camp.
Yeah.
So these are the 3 camps we had all based. There used to be more, used to be Salamanca and stuff like that as well. But that wasn't being used at the time. And so what we did was, I drew it all on the thing and I went, right, so is the routes...
How far was the run? I don't know how big Belize is.
I'm trying to think. It was possibly, I don't know, was it between 400 and 500 miles?
Yeah.
For everybody, going round the camps. And I did that. The boss went, yeah, happy with that. So I organised that. And that we did, and all the legs.
So these are just fun challenges, or that you just like, oh, screw it, let's do that? Or did you do them for like charities, or is it to raise awareness on something?
I think that was more about a bit of we just needed something to do.
Yeah.
So I said, well, let's look
Team goal.
let's look to do this, and we did it, and off we went, and then everybody got to the end, to the finish, because we did the final leg, so everybody was at this place, and then we got drunk.
So what's it like then? Because how many guys roughly doing that?
So you had the whole battery doing it, and what you were doing is, because you were going for speed, so everybody was running. You did several 3-mile legs.
So okay, so yeah, so you got like what, 100 guys, 200 guys?
No, we were less than that,
Yeah.
because of how it was all broken up, because you had people in different places.
Okay.
So we were possibly about 30 guys.
Okay, so, and is this your idea?
Yes.
So what's it like then? You got to motivate 30 guys. You're taking them. Oh right, we're going to run around Belize. 30 guys. Are they all up for it? Like, let's go. Are they all like you, or is there a few of them that you're going to have to show your leadership?
No, because you came up with the idea and you planned it, and then people just buy into it.
Okay.
Okay, you're always going to get some of your whinges, but by and large, and then you start to see the competition in people coming out.
Yeah.
Right? You start to see it. And, so like when you're doing your 3-miler, all of a sudden, people are timing. Right? People are actually timing, and they're going, he done that. So like Yorkie Den, fast as fast can be type of thing. And a guy who I'm walking with now, actually, Alan Lambert-Gorman, he'd come with us to that trip. He was in another subunit, but he came with us, and lovely runner, And so all of a sudden, people saw the challenges within it. Thought, right, okay, I'm going to be quick on this and stuff like that. So it was great, and people just bought into it, and then they knew that there was going to be a load of beer at the end and some food.
That's how you motivated them.
Absolutely slaughtered.
Big piss up.
Well, don't get me wrong. I was a low life. I was a low life, but the senior NCOs and that who sort of running everything with the young officers, yeah, they buy into the party.
Yeah. Because
it's either doing stuff like that or doing the horrible military stuff.
Yeah, fair.
So hey, I was all for a distraction.
Everyone was all for it.
Let's have a distraction.
So you had that then, and I also know you had your weighted marathon training.
Yes.
You spoke about before. So that was the record that you had.
Yes.
So run us through that then.
So military marathon, yeah. I came across that in 86?
And this is where you and a troop of guys are in how much weight of gear?
So you're carrying a 40-pound pack, which includes a weapon, and you're in army trousers, army boots, and a training top.
There's what, like 8 of you?
Eight in the team.
Yeah.
And which equates to a section.
Yeah.
And you go run a marathon. Now, I was reading the paper. I think I was reading the Sunday Telegraph. This was me trying to educate myself when I was younger, reading all the papers, learning how to read properly. And I saw in there that the Royal Marines had broken a record which had been set by the Americans. So the Americans had set this military marathon record some years previously, and I think they'd done round about... they'd done 7-8 hours, if my memory's correctly. Anyway, the Royal Marines went out and broke it, and they did 5.5 hours. And I saw this in the paper. And I went... And strangely, I'd done a calculation in my head, because at that time, when we were doing our military test, you ran with your kit on at 10-minute mile pace. So I looked at that and I went, oh, we're sub 5 hours with stuff to spare.
Yeah.
I went, that's not a quick time. And plus, you'd already done your 30-miler as a part of your commando course and stuff like that. And so I went to the RSM, who had been my BSM, my battery sergeant major in Belize, and RSM's next step up. And I said, look, this here, we can do this. And because I just got on with him, I could talk quite freely with him. And I said, look, we can do this. I said, we want to do it in November. I said, we want to do it in the first Sunday in November. because of how the weather works and the coolness and stuff like that. And didn't turn out. Beautiful dry day, roasting. And so we went okay. So he then used his position and drove the relevant people. You know, it was my idea. Then he got the PTI who was in charge at the time, the physical training guy from the Army Physical Training Corps, a guy called Tiny Galeston. And they started putting the team together. And a lot of the time I was not with the team because all of a sudden I was on like leadership courses and stuff like that. And I actually shouldn't have been in the team, really. And because what I was doing is I was doing a lot of running in my own time. And though I could run, but what I was not doing is I was not doing the training with them as a team, which was very, very important to do, to get those things. But I was always going to be in the team. And I remember going to see Tiny Gailus and I said, look, I should not be in this team. And he said, no, RSM says you've got to be in it. I said, look, I shouldn't be in it. I said, because I've missed so much of that. And he said, no, you're in it. Okay.
And what were you doing with your own running in your own time?
Well, I would go out and I'd run. I mean, God, I could run. I was running very lovely.
Yeah,
I was running so free. I could go out, and I remember one of the biggest mistakes I made was about a week or so before I gave myself a real test run, and it was too big. It was too big a test run. I went out with a guy called Kev Winters. He was good because we put 3 teams in to do it. And he ended up in the second team. I ended up in the first team, where really I should have been in the third team. And I must have done we must have done about 18 miles.
Yeah.
With the full weight.
Yeah.
Too much.
Yeah.
But anyway, we went and did it on the day. We broke the record. I think there was a few of the miles where I had somebody's fist in my back, just to get a bit more speed out of me. And because my energy levels did drop. But we got in and we did it in 4 hours 35:47, if my memory's correct. And we did that. So we broke the record. And considerably. And then a few years later, and that was done on the Plymouth Marathon.
Okay. Hills.
Right?
Hills everywhere.
Hills everywhere. And even those long downhill stretches, they don't give you the opportunity to recover, right? Because you find you're going too fast and it's very hard. So Plymouth, hard marathon to do it on. Then the RAF got given the record on the London Marathon, and there was a bit of controversy over that because they said they wanted their time rounding down. All right, RAF, yeah. And that's how we sleep in the field, mate. You stay in hotels. And so they got given, and the record then got took down by 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, something like that. So I remember then, I was years had gone by, and I was like, I think we need to go back and do this again. So I was a battery sergeant major of 8 battery, and I just said to
How many years later was this?
Let me think. So that was 86, 87, that was 87. So, 87. So we went back again in 89.
Okay.
Sorry, 87, 98.
No, just after I was born.
98, yeah. Sorry, 98.
So you ran the first one, and then for what you've told me, you coached the second one, in a sense.
Yeah, coached and managed the second one. Yep, and that was it.
So how do you go about then finding these teams of 8? Right, we need teams of 8, good strong lads, good mindset to go out and smash this marathon.
Well, you're lucky if you're in a unit like a commando unit or a para unit.
Obviously, the military is probably a good place to source that.
It is, and it is, and
that's what it builds.
And you'll find that people will step forward, and it's normally the usual suspect. Yeah. The usual suspects, I should say. And so I had, and we only had one team on this one, so we didn't have 3, just had the one team. And so these guys all turned up. I run them around a little track. In fact, I run them around the park, Victoria Park.
Yeah.
on that flat bit there, and introduced them to it. And I said, right, let's get this going. I set the target of a marathon, which one was Luton, I identified. And we started to put the team together. And the thing was, it was keeping it going because we were trying to, I was trying to do this inside all the military work.
Yeah.
And so I was a battery sergeant major, which was busy. I had the RSM on side, commanding officer was on side. But at the end of the day, any concessions that they'd give me, they were quite quickly forgotten about. And so you'd have to work hard. And so I kept the motivation of the guys. Like, I'll give you an example. We had to go and do this full regimental exercise up in Otterburn. And we were about 4 months into the training. And the numbers of the military had started to be reduced and reduced and reduced. And so we were working skeleton crews. So all these guys had to go on this exercise, which included me. But I identified there was down periods in it. And so what I would do is, I would get all my work sorted, and I would say to the guys, right, I'm going to come and pick you up. I'm going to take you for a run. And I was driving across this exercise area. People are sleeping in sleeping bags under ponchos and different stuff like that. And I'm there, coming. These guys would just jump out in. Some days I had 4 of them. Some days I had 2 of them. There was one day I had not all of them, but most. And I would say to others, look, get your run in.
Yeah.
And that was quite hard to keep all that going. But we kept that going. And then I brought this other guy in. I thought, right, I need to change this up a bit. So I brought this army physical training instructor guy in. He was very technically minded. So I thought, okay, let's have a new impetus, because not only am I sick of hearing my voice, I think these lads are. And I said, right, can you do something different for me? And he said, as long as you leave me to do it. I said, I'll be there, but you're in charge. And he introduced the speed training. And it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant, speed training. Because the condition, the base was there with everybody. There was no problem. All these guys could do this distance.
Yeah.
They could all potentially beat the record. But this speed training gave us a whole new edge. And this lad put a really good structure together, which we worked with. And so we would do these 1 mile flat outs. We did 10 of them. And when you looked at the times from the start to sort of a month, 6 weeks later, it was just unbelievable. The improvements of people. People who were running a mile, carrying the weight in 9 minutes, were all of a sudden down to 6.5 at worst. And your faster guys, like Isherwood, who now runs the Curtis Parker, the Curtis program, which is for people with difficulties. He was close to 4 minutes.
That's nuts.
Right, absolute. He was coming in about 4:30. He was, just a freak, and so you had everybody else then was in that middle. So the speed work was absolutely unbelievable. So in a sense, we'd done the base, and we'd done the speed, and actually the base, because the way that we operated, a lot of the conditioning was there.
Was all the training done in the gear?
Yeah, all the training was done in the gear.
Yeah.
And then we got to the event, made sure everybody said, right, look, this week, 10 days, we're just jogging, stretching, stuff like that. I said, don't have too much beer. Don't have too much beer. I said, you can have a couple of beers the night before.
You're too nice to them.
But I said, don't. I said, that's the thing, we'll get these carbs down. And then obviously we went up to Luton and we did it. And we did it in 4 hours 19, something or other.
What was it like on the day? Taking those guys up there that you coached through it and managed through it?
Well, we picked the team. There was a couple of other people there who wanted to be in the team, but then couldn't. But we used them in a different way. It's like there was an officer who wanted to be in the team, a guy called Rodwell, a Royal Electrical Mechanical Engineer guy. He wanted to be in the team. But I sort of quickly said to him, at some point, I said, look, I've been through this. I said, we'll use you on the day like that if you don't mind. I said, so you can sort of guide them, you'd be the guide. And he went, yeah, not a problem. And so it was great going up there. We got ourselves to the front, and the people there they knew that we were coming up. The mayor and everybody was there. They all knew we were coming up to do it. And the world record was on, which we did. And we had Beastie, who was with us, Mark Davidson. I think he drives for Juicens. Anybody see Mark Davidson? Little guy. Oh, one of the best endurance runners in the whole of the UK. Seriously. And he was sort of top 5, represented the UK and stuff like that. So we're doing this thing, and we're running, and all of a sudden he sees this bloke who's doing this marathon. But this bloke wasn't doing this marathon. This bloke was doing this marathon twice, because Beastie knew him. Beastie started talking to him as we sort of went along. But so we went up and did it, and it was great. And the guys did it, and we absolutely smashed it. At that time, we said we want to put this beyond reasonable doubt, because we knew we were taking ourselves to sub 10 minutes. Obviously, the Royal Marines, who had been trying for years to break it again, I think they managed to break it a couple of years ago.
Yeah, we searched that, didn't we?
We searched that up. They managed to break it.
4 minutes or something like that. They got like 4:16 or 2 minutes. Sorry, they're on like 4:18 or 4:19.
No, so we were 4:19, and I think so it was about 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, I think they're like 4:16 now, and but your record held for like 18 years. 18
years, it did, and again, it shows with these things, like we talked earlier about, Bannister's record, and it really is interesting to go back and look at Roger Bannister's record of the mile, and then compare it to, say, for instance, Seb Coe's mile type of thing, and breaking the mile record, and see where Roger Bannister was, and see where Seb Coe was, and as you talked about before, the environment, and see the difference, and even Seb Coe, and he said it only recently, they asked him what records stand out, and he says it has to be Roger Bannister's. And even though the record only stood for about sort of 2 weeks or so, but he had done it.
Yeah.
And in that environment.
The first one to break it.
Yeah, and so, when we did ours, we wore the old style kit. I know the Marines, when they had to work quite hard to get their record rubber stamp, because there was questions again over the kit that they were wearing. Because all these new super high tech, they're not really a boot, they're more like a running boot. All these things came in, but I suppose that's technology, that's advancement.
So why do you think you wanted to do that? Did you think you wanted to do that for the army? Or when you were looking at that, you were like, we had this. Do you think it was more you looking at it for you?
No, not at all for me. And
so obviously you didn't take part in it, but you took part in obviously the managing and coaching of it.
Yeah, no, I think for me, I've always, one thing I learned about myself is I always like to try to help people get the best out of themselves.
Yeah.
And at the same time, if you could do something, it's a bit of a wind up for other parts of the units and stuff like that, or give yourself a bit of kudos.
Yeah.
Hey, there's a strong tongue in cheek here,
Yeah.
And or should I say, there's a big tongue in cheek. So, yeah, you do it, but you do it and you move on.
Yeah.
And somebody breaks your record. Well, it's not your record, is it? It's just the time that you set. You might go like that, but then you go, well done. We'll go back and do it again. Type of thing. That's what it's there for. No, I think it was more, I was always just looking to do stuff.
Yeah.
Right? And can you take people along with you? Let's take people along and let's see. And if other people go along, they do better than you and whatever, stuff like that, what you've done is you've created that opportunity, right? Created that opportunity and let people experience something different and something new. And then they might realise that they're good at it, realise that you like it. And even when, I started walking again, 4 years ago, on the moors, taking people out, showing them, and taking them right into the deep of the moor, and showing them that they can get there, and giving them the confidence in themselves to go and do it, and get themselves out if they find themselves in trouble. Well, you should never find yourself in trouble, but there you go. But just giving them the confidence, and I'm all for that. It's like somebody came up to me, said, "Oh, listen, there's a group of us here. We want to go and do this. Want to go and do this. Would you come along with us? Because, yeah, it's no problem. I'll go along with you. Do you want to do? Yeah, I can give you some advice, guide you, whatever, and stuff like that. And just to show people, it's like when me and you were going up Ben Nevis. I mean, look at some of those people we saw when we were on our way down. Yeah. The family from Bangladesh. The woman sat on that corner with her shiny handbag. But stop, give them a couple of minutes.
They're Gucci flip-flops.
And it's, just support people. So I'd like to think it wasn't about me and for me. I like to think I was getting some pleasure out of it.
Yeah.
But I always like to see when you support people and give something to people and then see them take it on. I've always found the pleasure in that, in just watching them. It's like when I was doing the little bit of survival, stuff with the kids and like getting them to make, a sundown, showing them how to do that, getting them out to do certain knots and to build a shelter.
Yeah.
Kids always like fire. So getting the different ways, the different methods for generating heat, capturing it, turning it into a flame. And watching and encouraging them to do that and showing them the right methods. It's great. And talk to them about getting them to use knives safely. This is knife. Let's not be scared of a knife, right? Because knives are a part of our everyday existence. Yeah. And so this is knife. So let's learn to do this. Learn how to whittle with a knife. Let's learn how to carve with a knife. Let's learn how to use a knife safely. And all of a sudden you take the taboos away. And then to watch them, take that forward, and it's great. It's the pleasure. So it goes back to Big Sam, handshake Sam, and then Sam to come back and he's used it, and you go, I go, done something right.
Do you think you've always tried to be a role model?
I think that you learn that it's like where I said before, your actions and your words say more about you than whatever it is you think that you're trying to say or do, right? And because that's people are going to make their own judgments on what they see you do. So yeah, you do have that in the back of your mind, but it shouldn't be driving you. Because actually your standards should be embedded to you. And so the fact that you clean your shoes, you got, your uniform smart, and that's how you present yourself. That, that's stuff you learn from people. And then you want to pass that on because these are the basics. It's like picking litter up in the street, isn't it? Well, you pick it up, put it in the bin. Pick it up, put it in the bin. How many people just go like that? Throw ashtrays out, ciggies like that in a car, You know what I mean? Get your body, throw it there, decompose. Let's make your body into something useful. Some compost. Get over there. Joking, am I? So I think there's a thing in the back of your minds that should say, I've just got to be conscious here of what I'm doing. Sometimes you just let yourself be free. That's important. I mean, I'm sure you've seen me like that, where I remember seeing you on holiday once looking along at me when me and Mum were talking to another lady and her daughter on the sunbeds, and I was just off on one of my stupid rants.
Many stories.
Many stories. And I could see you down the end looking back at me. I was like that. I was sort of, oh, Tom's looking at me. I'm obviously loud, but you had this smile on your face, and I thought,
Well, it's just I've been there, and I still see it. I still see it now. Like I've been there so many times when you get yourself into that zone with things. Yeah, it can be comical because I know. It's funny because I know how that person's feeling. Like this guy's still going.
and that's it.
Well, I said hello.
I only said hello.
I nodded at him.
And now I'm exhausted.
now
I'm exhausted.
Now I'm signing up for something or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But obviously, so the military was a big like chapter of your life. Did a lot of things. Went to a lot of places. Challenged yourself in a lot of ways. There was a lot of shaping, molding, and lessons along the way. And like you said, you're obviously like a role model to a lot of people there along the way. But then, so what that thing you said was in '98. So then, '97 and 2000, you then become another role model. You start entering parenthood.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Well, me and your mother had been together for 8 years, living together before we got married. Then we got married, and then it was 10 years before kids come along. And as you know, I'm 6 years older than your mum, and so I was a slightly older father. And it's really common nowadays, isn't it? There's me having kids at 37 and 40. God, I've had friends who've had kids at 50 and 60. And, no fear, credit to them. It was something that I'd wanted, that we'd wanted. That decision was made, and which we were happy with. But it does bring a whole different dynamic. I think for me, I was slightly older. And so my physicalness was changing anyway. A lot of the speed, and I think that was going, even though you were still good at stuff, and that was it. But, I was sort of at a good level, and where I was in my managerial sort of career, it sort of fitted quite well. It fitted quite well. And I think we adjusted into parenthood. Like a lot of people could. I think where were we sort of beneficial? We'd had our own house for 10 years, when you come along, which was really good. I mean, it's so difficult for people nowadays. I mean, nowadays it's just out of control. But in a sense, so we got a mortgage on our flat first, and the mortgage was only against my earnings, and which was 2.5 times my earnings. Where you see nowadays they want 10, 20, 30 times both bloody earnings to buy one of these crazy, poorly built properties that won't last 5 minutes. Soapbox, type of thing. But so we got that, and then so we got that at the end of '86.
Well, do you think coming into parenthood then? Because obviously you've done all this stuff with your own like fitness, pushing yourself. There's a lot of stuff that you were challenged yourself, putting yourself forward in life. Do you think some of that then stopped when you now had this new focus in life?
Well, no, because so you come along, and I was already getting ready to take the marathon record again.
Yeah.
So that came along.
Was that like maybe that was a catalyst. You found out Maria was pregnant. You're like, God, I need one last thing. I need one last hurrah to get it done. Mate, that could have been something there.
I think it could have been.
This could be it.
No. I think I'd have gone on to. I mean, there was other challenges that we did.
Yeah.
And which will come on to other things that we did, but no, I think that record just come along at the time where I thought to myself, well, if we're going to do it again, it's got to be now, because this is the position I'm in.
Yeah.
And so. I think the fact that you had come along and whatever, I don't think that would have changed anything.
What kind of challenges would initially come from them being a father?
Challenges, time management.
Yeah.
Yeah, time management and getting those things, it's time management, making sure you're doing your bits. A lot of times dad's going to work, mum's staying at home, and those sorts of things and stuff like that. We were very...
It was kind of your typical situation. Well, I mean, maybe not typical now, but like that was old school typical.
I mean, you really had to manage your time sort of better. And so it's like, luckily I've always been good, which you are, getting up early. And so I could make time. I'd get up and I'd say, okay, I'll go out the door, and I'm out running at 6 o'clock. And you started to adjust how you did things. So where before I would say I'd do all my work and then go and do a gym session before going home, I would then say, right, I've got to incorporate this in now.
Yeah.
Because I need to be home because I've got to do my part of parenting. So you just make those adjustments. And it takes a lot out of you. And, you know, for young families and that nowadays, especially ones who are in jobs which are very 9 to 5, I'm not going to say Monday to Friday. It could be Monday to any day. And the hours can be all over the place. You know, people fitting stuff in must be so difficult for them nowadays with the way the whole sort of work and employment environment is. You know, seems a bit crazy.
Why did you want to keep up with your fitness?
Why
was that important to you?
I think fitness was just something that was always there.
Yeah.
I think there was one part which was, there was a reputational thing, all right? And I felt I had to live up to a reputation. So I would go there, and rather than, you know, becoming a late entry officer in the army and just go, oh, you can chill now, Derek, you can do this. I still, for a period, I wanted to be up there.
Yeah.
And then I realised, I went, no, I can't be up there. Just be there.
Yeah.
Right? Be there. Be there, and if youngsters are going past you, let youngsters go past you. You know? And it's not a problem.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things that you're realising as a parent, that you need to stay fit for your kids. Right? Because your kids are going to be running around doing stuff. You know, you're going to have to chase them when they learn to ride a bike. You know, when they want to run, all those things, you're going to be running all over the place.
Is this stuff you're actively thinking of, though?
It's things that you will have seen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I remember seeing a guy called Chris Hosty was at Sandair, so this was maybe about 2 years before you come along. And Chris was a good little friend. And I'd met him on courses that we'd been on in preparation to going to Sandair. He was from an infantry unit. And I remember seeing him, we were at Sandair together, and he lived in one of the quarters, I lived in the mess, because me and Mum still had the house in Plymouth. She stayed here. And I remember watching Chris taught his little daughter to ride a bike. And I remember watching him flat out, because his daughter just took off on this little push bike. She was done. And he was flat out. Right? I thought, I'm going to remember that type of thing.
Yeah.
And now Chris trained with me. There was me, Chris, and Dan Laidlaw. Ronnie Corbett used to come along a fair bit. But Dan Laidlaw and Chris, we trained a lot together. All from different units. But we enjoyed our training together. So Chris, chasing after his daughter on this bike. And I just thought it was funny, but I thought, yes. So like when you're coming along and stuff like that, I think, right, you've got to be fit, you've got to be fast. You know, it's like your mother, you know, your mother's a beautiful swimmer, you know, a wonderful swimmer. And so for us to be healthy, it meant that we could teach you stuff. You know, we forever had you in water. There was no fear of going to water with you, where you meet a lot of other parents. There's that fear of water. And a lot of it stems from themselves.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's projected.
Yes. But, you know, we didn't. You know, we was like, get them in the water, and look how well you were swimming, how well Penny was swimming from early on. So your kids, in a sense, should keep you fit. You know, and they should give you the impetus to want to stay healthy. You know, and then we would cycle with you. You know, so we did lots of that. You know, we went walking all the time. We punished you on the walking, which was a thing.
Would you say it's fair to say that parents that maybe don't look after their own health and fitness and then start bringing kids into the world and maybe aren't in the physical shape themselves to give their kids these experiences, it kind of can be a bit robbing from the kids?
Oh, I think you've got to be careful how you answer that one. Yeah. First of all, the society nowadays is different. All right? And people are people. And that's the thing you have to understand. So,
I'm saying, do you think it's important for parents to be in shape for their kids?
I think it's...
As someone who kept it up.
I think it's very important for parents to do what they feel is right for them. So I'm going to give, some people are academic, Tom. Don't get me wrong. I see where you're coming from with the question, and I think it's good that there is activity within that. Some parents are just not like that. All right. I remember a guy I met in Winchester. I was out with a guy called Clive Nodder. He was a Royal Engineer instructor at Sandhurst. Lovely guy, Clive. Absolute stunning guy. Super brilliant. Anyway, one day we goes out to Winchester. I'd stayed up when I was up at Sandhurst as an instructor, I'd normally do 2-3 weeks flat out and then come home, right, and get a long weekend. And so I was up there this one weekend, and I'd done my instruction in the morning. So I thought, right, Clive said, let's go into Winchester for coffee. He wanted to pick up some books. We went in. Anyway, we met this guy. This guy come along, and who Clive knew. Clive was a real intellectual, very academic. Where me, I'm just, where do you want to hold up and dig? And I saw this guy come along, and Clive introduced me, and he started talking and stuff like that. Now, this guy was big. He was small, but he wasn't big, but he was big. His hair was just unkept, he hardly had any, and he was there. But I was listening to him speak to Clive, and I looked at the size of his head and stuff like that, and I went, so that's the total opposite to me, that. And I said, why? I said, because actually, he only needs his body to be able to carry his brain around, doesn't he?
Some people are like that.
And that was him.
Yeah.
So he more than likely looked at me going, well, you're going to be one of these people just going to rag themselves to death, type of thing. So there's a balance. Now,
but I'd say you're in a much better position with your health-wise than at your age.
Well,
than most people in
there
the
is.
60s.
The knees are a mess.
But it's the trade-off of like, your knees are a mess, yeah, cool. Yeah, there could have been smarter training, but all in all,
I think there's a society now. It's really hard for people. I think there's so many things which are against people. Mm-hmm. Plus, genetics are key, right? Absolutely, and because at the end of the day, you tend to be what your parents were.
I believe that's more environment as well, though.
But if the environment has influenced that in relation for this generation, and the environment is decreasing or increasing, whichever way you look at it, for the next generation, by and large, that's just going to carry across and multiply, and it's going to multiply. So, a certain amount of discipline needs to be there, but it's just difficult for people. It is because, again, even though we're all the same to a point, when you look at standards or the standard, we're all different in many ways, those tiny little nuances. And I think sometimes some people are just there and they just go, I'm just so exhausted, right? And it's just not worked from that way. Maybe the support mechanism is not there for them.
Do you think it was easy for you because it was just something that was always there anyway? You just had it as like a non-negotiable in your life.
What, the fitness?
Yeah.
Or the desire to like that?
Well, I mean, because you kind of have always had fitness in some shape.
Yeah.
It's moulded and manifested in different ways over your time.
It is. I mean, I must admit, I was walking on the moors again in the week, and we had a lovely walk, and even though the state of my knees, but because of the exercises that I do, they help a lot.
Why don't you just let yourself go? Why don't you just knock it on the head for health and fitness? You've done 50 years of it. Why more?
Am I still vain?
what is it? I'm generally curious.
I think maybe there's still a bit of vanity there, right?
Yeah.
Let's not deny.
Be honest.
Be honest. So
there's no right or wrong answer. It's your answer.
You sort of like as you're getting older, you say, look in the mirror and still do this. It's like I'm carrying a little bit more here now than what I did do this time last year. I'm giving him, oh, that's like disappointing. but again, it's like our friend Andy, who should be known as Ian, or Ian, who should be known as Andy.
Don't know his name.
Don't know his name.
I think it's Ian.
Yeah. You wear the red T-shirt, you do this with your pole or your bar, and now. But there's also the management, Tom, and it's as you get into an age, you think to yourself, right, if you let yourself go, you're going to put unnecessary strains on your body. Now, you've got to get this balance right of relation, because when you do an exercise, you're putting a strain on your body. But you want to try to make that a positive strain. So what I don't want it to be is I don't want it to be an extra 4 kilo or an extra 10 kilo, right, with clogged arteries, and those sorts of things, which is actually all avoidable.
Mm.
And you think you're getting into these, the sort of halcyon type years of where you are, and you're thinking, right, I want to enjoy these. I was doing that drugs dealing, delivering drugs for the Well Pharmacy, which I did, 3 or 6 hours a week for about a year. I just did that because I needed something to do. And some of the houses that I went into, and some of the people and the pills that I was giving them. And I went into this one little bungalow. And as I approached it, sometimes you approach these places, you get like a code, you've got to let yourself in. And look at that. Anyways, all these little bungalows, you don't realise how many of these old people's bungalows that there is in Plymouth. Absolutely thousands of them. So and I'm approaching this house. The woman saw the little van I got out, a woman next door, and she opens the window. And she goes, oh, I haven't heard anything from him, dear. She knows where I'm going.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, look, thank you very much indeed. So I rings the bell. I've done the code. I rings the bell. And as I open it, he says, yeah, come in, I'm in on the left. So you just go into the little tiny hallway, and there he is in on the left. And he's got another little room there and a toilet. Now, sun is shining like it is today.
Yeah.
Out there, and I would imagine it was mid-late morning, maybe 11 o'clock or something like that. And I opened the door to his room, and he's in bed. The curtains are drawn. There's a heater on, right? It's got a light on, and so it looks like it's nighttime.
Yeah.
And I looked at this guy in bed, and I took him these pills, and he's like this. Oh, I'm glad you're here, mate. Oh, I've been needing those pills. Oh, you're a diamond and all this. And I'm there looking and I'm going, you don't need these pills. You don't need them. Right? I actually said to him, I said, do you want me to draw the curtains, mate? Oh, no, that's bad for me. I'm thinking, no, it's bloody good for you, mate. Right? I thought, turn that heater off. Turn that light off. Open those curtains. Get yourself up. Get moving around. But this chap had been put into this mental state by a process, and a process to keep him in it.
Yeah.
And he was in a system where you got a doctor who he couldn't speak to, right? Because lockdown, you got to have a computer. He's not going to have a computer. He's not even going to have a smartphone. Yeah. So he can't speak to, but the doctor's then just sending stuff to the pharmacy. The pharmacy is just processing stuff because that's not what they want to do, because that's how they're making their money, right? The pharmacy won't do anything that he says. So if he says, stop delivering me the tablets, they'll say, no, we've got to hear it from the doctor. He can't speak to the doctor because the doctor's system is all crazy. He hasn't got a computer. He can't do anything and stuff like that. So all of a sudden, he's just getting these tablets sent to him the whole time. And he was not just the one. There was loads of people like this.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, this is all wrong.
It's messed up.
And the amount of people I was talking, there's another guy I got to, and I come in and he's got to his house. And he's in his garden doing stuff. I said, oh, mate, got your stuff. He said, got more of that. I said, well, why don't you stop it? He said, well, I can't get through to the doctors to stop it. And I said, well, I'll tell the pharmacy that you don't want it. I said, but they're going to need to hear it from your doctor. He said, yeah. He said, it's all this online stuff now. He said, I can't speak to them. He said, I can't do it. He says, and I've got nobody to do it for me. And then he slid this cupboard open. He had a wall cupboard, slid it open, and it was just full of these things. He said, look at them all. He said, don't even use them. Yeah? And I'm looking at it and I'm going, this is insane.
Was he paying for them all?
No, but what's happening is here is, the pharmaceutical company is being paid for that. The chemists are being paid for doing it. And the GPs are just signing it off. And rather than put a review process in place, say, hold on, we've been giving these tablets here to this person for this time. I think we need to review this. No, because they're just signing it off because they're getting their holidays from the pharmaceutical companies. And to see say your grandma's come off those pills, right? She hasn't been on those pills before. And she's there going, why do I need to go on these?
Stupid.
Because your grandma keeps herself healthy.
They're so quick to prescribe them for physical and mental health. Like, is the amitriptyline's the common one with like mental health, depressant, just to kind of keep you at a numb state. The amount of people I know that have been stuck there.
Years ago, it used to be gin.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it was gin. Right? Give them gin. Let them all, gin. And they're like that whole time. You'll find lots of caricature, lots of jokes about that, cartoons, things about that around, which way go back into, the sorts of 15th, 16th, 17th century, maybe even before. Okay? Keep people drunk. And that's why we still have this drinking culture. Our drinking culture goes back centuries, right? And it's how the people have been kept there. When you look back through it all, it's all about. So, but what they've done is they've now brought pills in. Yeah, pills in.
Keep people relying on pills.
For the youngsters. And, I was asked to go on a pill a few years back. And I said, why? He said, I think you need to take a statin. I said, why do you think I need to take a statin? And he said, well, you had that condition, didn't you? I said, what condition? And I said, well, that wasn't proved, was it? He said, but we think you did. I said, no, either I did or I didn't. Let's not make stuff up. Doctor's looking at me like that. I said, so justify why you want me to go onto this pill and what it's going to do for me. I said, what it's going to do for me that I'm not doing for myself now. I said, I go to the gym, I walk. I said, everything's in moderation. Unless it's a large bag of Maltesers when I'm at the cinema. All right, got to do the lot.
Yeah.
Oh, hang gums. Anyway, I said, but I'm in moderation. I said, I'll look after myself. I said, so why do I need this? And again, he was just trying to say, oh, well, you had this condition. I said, but I didn't. I said, because I had all the tests and they all came back clear. But he just wanted to put me on it. I went, no, I'm not taking it. I said, I'm not doing it. I said, I keel over and whatever and stuff like that. Okay, so be it. You can say, I've told you so. I said, but you're not giving me any qualified reason why I need to be on that pill. So I just said no. And, there's all those things around society are a problem. But individually, I think people need to be brave and challenge that rather than make themselves the victim. Oh, I've got this. This is wrong with me. It's like, my knees are just bad. Right? And
But you're doing something about it.
But by doing this work, and I watch people in the gym, as I say, different people, watch Gabby doing that exercise the other day. She'd come in, I thought, I'm going to pinch that exercise off you, Gabby. I like that. And hopefully that'll strengthen that part. I saw Ian Andy. And I thought, I like that one that you're doing. I'm going to try that. Because again, they were doing exercises which, in order to help their flexibility, their suppleness, they needed to strengthen in certain areas. And they seem to have it off to a pat. And I thought, right, I can learn from that. So I take those things and I say, let's have a little bit of that. I think it's difficult for everybody else to do that. Not everybody can do it. I'm lucky I'm in the position that I am.
No, it's not luck. You've just continued to work on it, haven't you?
Yeah. And but with it, and as I say, and I'll keep going as long as I can. I mean, I didn't get to go to do the 3 Peaks earlier this month as we planned, because that was just how things worked out.
I was actually going to speak to you because I have someone who, in August, they're doing a 3 Peaks. I'll speak to you more off camera about it.
Okay.
But
But I'm going to go back again next year. So I'm going to go back late March, early April next year, and we'll go and do it again.
Over the weekend or in a day.
No, we'll do it over a couple of days. You know, to enjoy it. There's no need at our age to race it.
But I mean, that's another fantastic reason why training is so good for you. You can still experience all these things. Like you go out you're comfortable going out and taking a leading walk with your mates. For example, Dean, he wasn't too. He's an example of someone who's maybe a few steps behind you within the fitness, but there's some people who are massively further. So, for example, Dean, who comes on the walks with you, he wasn't too confident with walking. He's done a bit of training now. He is confident walking, but there are people who just aren't confident to go out and do stuff like that. And obviously, it's shown with you continue to do fitness. We did Ben Nevis 2 years ago.
Yeah.
You went up the tallest mountains in the UK at 62, 63. Okay, but
yeah, nearly 63.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people who wouldn't do that in their 30s.
Yeah, it was 18 months ago.
I know people my age like, I couldn't walk up a tour on Dartmoor, let alone the highest mountain in the UK.
But they can.
They can, but it's like a mental thing.
Yeah.
But there's some people who are so physically unfit they might actually die doing it. So I think it's impressive that it's still there for you in your headspace. You're still you've switched it. Maybe when you first started, it was you were small. You realize when you first start doing health and fitness, you're not thinking of health and fitness. You're just thinking this is a sport, this is activity, this is fun.
Yeah.
Then you start seeing what comes of it. The fitness, the change in your body, the change in how you feel. Then you're like, okay, you start doing it for that.
Yeah.
And then you went through, all right, now you went through your phase of challenging yourself. So you had all your runs, you had all your expeditions and things that you were doing with yourself and the team. And then now it's more, the next phase is like, I want to continue to be able to do stuff. This is giving you access to things.
Yeah. It does.
Before it was just the opening the doors, then it was pushing it even further. Now it's just like, I want to continue to be able to experience these things and do these things.
It is, and I think that you've got to keep pushing. I saw a little thing on Facebook today, a little guy I was in the army with, Stevie Gibson. Sadly, he seems to have passed away somewhere between last night and today. A few years younger than me, possibly maybe just under 60 actually, and he died last night, early hours this morning, unexpectedly. And I suppose, you look at that and you go, there's another wake-up call. Type of thing. It can come to anybody at any time. And, so just keep going. Just keep trying things. Look, if it scares you, then it's good to a point. You know what I mean? As long as it's not a reckless thing. But you think, if you're there thinking, oh, hang on, then give it a go. It's like, if you've got people in the gym, they say, I fancy a Moore's walk, but I don't know where to go and what to do. Point them in my direction. I took 2 guys out this week who I used to be in the forces with, but one of them has been 3 years recovering from cancer. All right, and he hadn't been out. So, the radiation treatment, that's took a lot out of his body. When I knew this guy, he's very physically capable. But obviously the radiation treatment and the drugs and stuff like that has took a lot out of him. We just bimbled around. Weather was stunning. Set a nice little walk. Got them right up on top of the trig point. The one that we did with you and Spence. But we just did that in reverse. Took some nice photographs. He said, I've come out today to see if I can do it. I said, don't you worry about me. I said, if I'm off in the front, I said, I'm just picking the route. I said, I'll get to a point, we'll sit. I'll just wait for you to come along. We'll sit down, take it easy, have a cup of tea. And then when you're ready, we'll go off again. And we did that. And it was great. It's like with Kevin. Kevin's 76 years of age.
Kevin, again, another good example. He keeps himself moving, doesn't he?
He keeps himself moving. I mean, he's lucky, he comes from good genes. His mother's 98. She's still living independently. So talk about, the genetics and that. That's a great example. But it's just go out and enjoy it. So I'll take people out and I'll say, it's not about me, it's about just giving them an experience. And then if you can get them to feel confident to go out by themselves, You know me, I'll always be pointing things out. I said, there's that there, there's
Tall
that.
guy Derek.
Tall guy Derek, there you go. But it's just giving them some do's, don'ts, good reference points, and sometimes just refreshing people on navigation. Yeah, and it's great. And just to go out there, sit, flask of tea, and sandwich, biscuit, and just sit, take it in. It's just, and you see what these people go, it's like those people again, that go back to when we were on Ben Nevis and we coming down, and I think we met there was our first group of Bangladeshis, and then there was the other group of Bangladeshis.
I think they were part of the same group. They were just a bit slow.
Yeah, but again, to me, myself, I would have loved to have taken charge of them. We were on the way down because I just thought to myself, it's great what these people are doing and stuff, but the level where we talked to them, that they were going to have a little bit of a wobble once they got up about another 300 meters.
Yeah.
Wobble was going to kick in with them, because all of a sudden snow, and it was like
probably didn't make it to first.
Possibly, but we saw that little girl with her mum and dad and the dog, and she was striding out, wasn't she, young girl? But just to take them and to coach them through, all right, and just help build their confidence, and then when they get there, they go, God, I didn't think I'd do that, type of thing. But you have, and you are now stood here, type of thing, and now you got to worry about getting back down.
Yeah. Is there anything you wish you have done, wish you did within your health and fitness up until now? At any point? Any direction you wish you took it?
Direction which I took it.
Or things are done differently?
The thing is, I think I've been lucky in a sense, because if I said, oh yeah, I wish I'd have done more team sports.
Yeah.
But then if I'd have done a team sport and we're in a team, that might have closed off all those freebie things I was doing. All right? So there's always a trade-off. I think in a sense, I've been lucky because I was able to operate, how can I put it, sort of freely, I would sort of get an idea. I said, well, let's go and give that a go. And I was given the freedom to go and give that a go within reason or within boundaries. So I could say, oh, I wish I'd have tried harder at that, or I wish I'd have done that. No, I think that I've been all right, really, in a sense, because I can dip into it and I've come out of it because there's something else I've needed to do. So I haven't had to be obsessed about it. And really, so it's given me a nice steady path, if that makes sense. My course has been okay. Even though my course was a little bit jagged at the start, it's sort of been okay. Where I've either just been that physical training instructor guy, that was all it'd have been. And that would have closed off other stuff. So I think it's okay. Maybe I would have, and there's still a chance to do it, maybe I'd like to do an exped with some people, an expedition.
Like what?
Well, maybe if you get a fair few people and you say, right, well, let's go and do, whether it's, again, take another group, say, why don't we all just go and do the 3 peaks together, right? Do it over a week, Monday to Friday or whatever, stuff like that. Walk, travel, walk, and then go up and do that together as a group, or maybe go to a place, it's like in Crete, and we didn't get a chance to do it last year. There's a walk from side to side where you finish off down this gorge, and you go over the top of the mountain, which is up there, and then you walk your way down into this gorge. And in the Second World War, the resistance that were operating out of Crete managed to catch a senior German officer, a general, and they then extracted him through this gorge. And there's a walk now that people go to do, which takes you going from the occupied side, where people live now, up over the mountain, and then down through the gorge, and then pick up a boat and go out. And just little things like that. Because there was a guy who I was doing a bit of survival with. He set the company up for Steps of Discovery. Spanner, lovely man, absolutely top bloke. He goes to do it, and he says, I've done this a few times. And I thought, yeah, that's a nice thing to do. It's like there's one in Norway you can do, which is the Hardangervidda. And we did that in, as military, did that in about 1988. And that's where you ski this 200 odd miles, and you finish. And so we went and did that. And we were in sort of groups of 4 going off and doing it. And just so you go across the mountains in Norway. And, you're skiing along and all day, late into the night, get to a hut. Get into the hut, set yourself up. And then up early next morning, clean everything up. Skis on, still dark. Just about getting a bit of that first morning light, and then you're off. You're all day at it, getting in just at last light. And these are great things to go and do. You're learning different things about yourself. You don't have to be a great skier. I'm not a great skier, from the downhill perspective, but I'm fairly capable of cross country and that sort of stuff. And to go and do those things, and you see yourself challenging yourself with different environments. I love that dry, cold environment. I absolutely adore it. So there's lots of things out there to do, and I think it's just going out and experiencing them. And it would be nice to organise something like that with a group of people and say, well, why don't we just go and do this? Why don't we just go and do this? Spend a bit of time doing this, and have a bit of a laugh, but also push yourself a bit. So it'd be nice if I could get some people interested in an idea, or even if somebody popped along to me and said, I've got this idea, blah, blah, blah. What do you think about it? So, are you inviting me? And, why not give it a go? Why not give it a go? It's like even if a group of people coming up and said, you know what, I'd really like to say, for instance, walk from the north of the moors to the south of the moors, right? Maybe with one overnight stop. Yeah, we can go and do that. And
a client doing a 100k walk over 2 days.
Yeah,
this is 50k a day.
Yeah, and when you realise 50k a day sounds a lot, but when you start at 6-7 o'clock in the morning, and you say you're going to go to 6 o'clock in the evening, you actually break that walk up into lovely little chunks, and you realise actually, 50k is a bit of work, but actually you're going, well, actually that's all right. Because I've got that many miles in first stop, and when you break it like that, it's absolutely fine. So if you get yourself, so I'm not closed off to anything, and
you're glad you got that ability to have that mindset about it.
Oh, don't let the old person in. That's not my. It's something I've adopted from somebody. I've picked it up and I thought, I like that. As you know, I can be serious, but mostly I'm a big kid. And like nothing more than a laugh. But yeah, just keep going. If you end up, it's like the guy who's the old couple, the mature couple. How can I come old? Because I'm older than him. Who's doing Race Across the World at the moment. I think he's 61, she's 65, 66, the wife. But he says, if I drop dead here, then okay. I've had a good life, I'm going. I'd rather drop dead here like this than maybe that chap who was mentioned about before, still in that bed.
Rotting in a bed.
Rotting in a bed. I mean, just get out of bed and go for it, type of thing. So yeah, it's, don't let the old person.
Try and put you on the spot with one last question. Let's say you had to give someone, because you're a fan of giving wise words and information.
So this is where I make a fool of myself again.
Let's see what comes out. if you were to kind of give your Gandhi, your Martin Luther like speech, some wise words of some words of wisdom of maybe a way to live life by. If you were to put some words together, what comes to mind?
What comes to mind? At times like this, isn't it? You say something, then you think, like last time when I was doing.
Of course, you can only paralysis by analysis,
and then
you're always going to think of more. Or I could have just said that.
No.
You always think of a better comeback later,
You do, and I suppose what do I say is here. I think, it's the old classic. Just don't doubt yourself, right? That's one thing. We all doubt ourselves, right? If you're doubting yourself, and it goes back to that thing I said before, which is about the fear. And if it's fear, then there's got to be something good about it. As long as you're not being reckless with something. But if it's something you want to do, then try it, right? So, don't doubt yourself. And I said, don't sell yourself short. A lot of time people sell themselves short, and we've covered that really in many ways, where the system looks to dumb us down, right? Give them that. Right? Give them that, or give them. In fact, don't even give them that because they're not worth that. So, don't sell yourself short. As you're getting older, never ever lose the ability to say no, because as we're getting older, we're there, and for some reason or other, we're there, and we're always saying yes. It's positive to say yes too much, because at times, just don't lose the ability to say no, because no is a positive thing at times, and it can keep you out of trouble. And I think just try stuff, and we've all questioned our confidence in stuff at times, and we look at stuff and we say, and we look back on when we haven't done things, and I think if we put our hands on our hearts and we look at it, we say, I lacked confidence. Guilty as charged here, because I doubted myself, right? And so just try to build your confidence in stuff, and because you'll find that most people are with you. It's like the person that gets up and sings at the karaoke, and they're terrified and whatever. Most people there would love to sing and get up with karaoke, confidence, scared, whatever, that sort of thing. But you can guarantee that 99% of that audience are with you, right? No matter how foolish you're making yourself look or how bad you think you sound, they're with you, right? They'll soon see through if you believe that you're brilliant and you're rubbish. They'll let you know. But by and large, people will feel it with you and they'll go with you, and you'll get that support. So I think it's all those, little tiny things. Sort of about yourself, and help people where you can. Just help people. It's like I came out the gym this morning, going there, I saw this big green camper van there. I've not seen that model before. Went across to it. It's a couple of German couple. They converted it all themselves. I said, "Oh, can I have a look?" They showed me inside. Then they told me they've got a problem with their gas bottle because of compatibility. Since we left Europe, all you people who voted, all right, there you go. And so our standard and their standard is different. And so I thought, right, I've got to try and fix this. I thought, how can I help them now? So I went straight across to MJT Tools. Okay, they didn't have the thing, but then they could send us on to the other place where they could get the stuff. And because their gas bottle had run out, they couldn't get a gas bottle here because of the adapters. But then we worked out where to get the adapters from so they could purchase a gas bottle here. And so it all fit. And then they could have heat and they could cook. Well, just took the time. Let's go over here. Let's go over there. And let's do that. And, it's just a little thing. It's just a little thing. Help people where you can. There's nothing wrong with that. Stand up for old ladies. Stand up for old men if you're in the seat. Let them sit down. Don't be ignorant.
I think those are some good words. Well done.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Was that okay?
That's perfect.
Good.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao. Bye.